What's up, everybody? This is Gary Holt from Exodus and formerly from Slayer, and you're listening to The Razor's Edge.
Welcome back to The Razor's Edge. My name is Chris, and I'm joined by the amazing Andy Thomas from the epic Rivers of Nihil ahead of the release of their self-titled album dropping on May 30th. Thank you so much for joining me, dude. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm good. Yeah, just been home from tour for about a week now, and I feel normal now. I'm not super jet lagged or anything, but yeah, I feel pretty good. Like I said, sunny day out. It's good.
Awesome. Thanks for taking the time to join us today. So, as I mentioned, we're here to talk all about your album coming out next month. I have been fortunate enough to give it a few spins already. Congrats with it, by the way. It's amazing. Probably Rivers of Nile's most epic work to date, in my opinion, anyway. So basically, everyone watching, you've got a lot to look forward to. But I think the big question, which I'm sure you've been asked a bunch already, but I bet people will really want to know, this being the band's fifth album, why has this one been given the moniker of the self-titled treatment?
Well, I mean, ultimately that was Biggs and Brody's decision, but I think I can speak to it. I feel like, well, first of all, the 4-season thing ended, and coincidentally, with that came a lot of, what would you say, lineup upheaval in the band. Kind of not, I mean, obviously that stuff's never on purpose. It's just, It happens when it happens. But through that, the four of us have gotten really, really tight. And musically and interpersonally. And I think, when this music started coming together, it was pretty clear that it was strong. And I think that probably is why they decided to self-title it. Yeah.
Yes, sweet. Obviously, I know you joined the band semi-recently, a few years ago now, but is there...
3 years.
3 years, yeah.
3 years. May 6th will be the 3-year anniversary of my first show.
Oh, wicked. What was that first show?
That was the Brooklyn Monarch. I also shaved my head for the first time that day.
Fair enough. But is there an energy amongst you lot that, since this new lineup, that it does feel like a new band kind of thing?
Yeah. I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak ill of anyone necessarily, but a lot of the corrosive elements within the band, and mostly interpersonally there, but all of the corrosive elements have been removed. So, I mean, we are all competent, we're all reliable, we're all dependable. None of us are destructively crazy. And, we're solid.
Awesome stuff. So, obviously, as we just alluded to, big shake-up for this new album, of course, because it's the first release with yourself in the band on guitar and vocals, and of course, Adam on the lead vocals. So, how did you find yourself joining Rivers of Nihil?
Well, so I basically grew up with those guys. I've known Biggs and Brody for, at least 15 years. I was at the second Rivers of Nihil show. I was at the party where they got signed to Metal Blade, or celebrating that they got signed to Metal Blade. I actually was in a band prior to, basically like the precursor to Rivers of Nihil. I was in the band. I was in that band, and they kicked me out. It was with John Coons, the original Rivers guitar player, and they kicked me out for writing something in a major key because they were because they were like a heavy band, and so they replaced me with Brody, actually. So we go way back. I was always a fan. I had my own musical, kind of career going. But we had kind of discussed a little bit over the years that if they had ever needed a guitar, when John Coons initially left the band, it was discussed a little bit, but I had my own band, Black Crown Initiate, at the time, and I kind of wasn't really looking to leave that. But later on, we had discussed that if they ever needed a guitar player, that it would be me. And well, I remember when I heard the work, I was like, holy shit, this is about as good as what we're all trying to do gets. And I had this feeling of like, I really want to join this band. And I kind of just planted the seed with Biggs. I was like, look, dude, if you need me, I'm there. And things weren't necessarily working out with John, their old guitar player, and Brody took me out for coffee one day and said, can you learn 80 minutes of music in 2 weeks? The answer to that is no, but I did it. I don't think I did it particularly well. That first tour was very much like, holy shit, I'm in over my head. But that's how it happened, and getting to know these guys now in the band capacity, it really makes sense, that they would just be like, hey, you got 2 weeks, figure it out, because it forces you to really buck up and do it. And then I joined the band, and the past 3 years we've played like 4 billion shows.
Yeah, for sure. So when they asked you to do that like, can you learn this tour really quickly kind of thing, was that like we want you to join the band, do this tour, or was it did it start off as just like, we just need you for this tour?
No, we all knew what it was.
Okay.
It was not for that tour. We definitely. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, the initial announcement was just like, it wasn't that I was filling in. I don't remember how it was worded, but yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to happen at some point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad it did.
Of course, absolutely. Was there a discussion early on, because you mentioned joining as a guitar player, was there talk early on about you bringing your vocals in as well, or did they say we want both, or just guitar, or how did?
They said they knew that they wanted both. I mean, since Owls, they've been experimenting with, the more melodic aspects of vocals, and that's something that is very much my cup of tea. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that was definitely the. I mean, I came in, I think the third tour I did, because the second tour I did was the European festivals, but the third tour that I did was the Contortionist, and we were playing The Work in full. And, it was definitely like understood that I could help support that, because there's a lot vocally going on that album too. Not nearly as much as there is on this new one.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah. Cool. So you mentioned earlier, prior to joining Rivers, you were in, and are you still a member of Black Crown Initiative?
I mean, I think we'll probably make some music at some point, but nothing in a touring or just for people who like the music. But am I still? Yeah, I mean.
Sure.
But it's not. It'll never be a touring entity again.
Okay, more of a creative endeavor, something like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, I just like making music with Nick Shaw.
Oh, awesome. But prior to even that, where did your journey as a metal musician begin?
I actually just talked about this in an interview I did half hour ago. It's kind of a cool story. Maybe not too dissimilar from other people, but I do have a specific thing that I could probably say that most people didn't get to do. I grew up in a household there were no musicians in my household. I think I might be the first musician in my family, but I grew up in a household that was very, very musical. My parents listened to a lot of music, have a vast music library, a lot of different tastes. My dad raised me on like classic rock from Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. He listened to a lot of jazz fusion, like John McLaughlin, Alan Holdsworth, Al Di Meola, and a lot of prog too. Yes, and King Crimson and Genesis. My mom was big into like Pink Floyd and Peter Gabriel and U2. And, yeah, there was always music. And one day my dad asked me if I wanted a guitar, and I just said yeah. And it sat in my attic for a couple years. And then one day I heard, I was walking around the city that I grew up in, and I heard these guys playing like Metallica and Slayer songs in their house. And I was like, what is that, you know? And I was like 12, and I went and I knocked on their door, and I was this little blonde kid with a bowl cut. I had hair. And I just said, hey, I hear you down there. Will you show me how to play? And they said yes. And they were Colombian dudes. And I think they ended up getting deported.
Okay.
Yeah. They would like take me to like nightclubs where I would go salsa dancing and stuff when I was like 12 years old. So that's the experience I was talking about that other people probably didn't have. I'm not a very good salsa dancer though now. I think I was all right then. But yeah, so I that's what got me kind of started. And I'm largely self-taught, although I did eventually get a guitar teacher by the name of Ken Garrett. He's still around. He's a guy that played. He taught like 10 instruments. It was crazy. Right. Yeah, he's one of those guys who's just like, he's genius, like a literal genius. So he showed me a lot, but I think his lesson, he taught me to just kind of do whatever I want, which
yeah,
is still kind of what I do. I'm definitely like not a guy that you would look to teach you like proper technique or anything.
Ah, right, okay. Is that same deal with you vocally as well? Is that largely self-done?
Yeah, I actually didn't. I never sang until the first Black Crown Initiate EP, and I just did it because it needed to be done. I was looking for a certain character vocally, and James, the other singer of Black Crown Initiate, didn't have that character. He's got a very low, almost like Lord of the Rings type voice, and that's not what I was looking for in clean vocals. So I just did it myself, and that's it's yeah. Same with guitar. It's been trial and error for about 12 years now.
Awesome stuff. Awesome. Cool. So let's talk all about the new album. It's quite the meaty package, I would say. 10 songs long, full of prog death metal stuff. I think the whole thing's about 50 odd minutes or something. So
yeah, 52, something like that.
Yeah, there's a lot going on this thing. So when did you guys start working on it?
I had the riff to Suborbital Blues laying around for a while, and I remember I showed it to Brody it was either the East Side or the Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville. I can't remember which specific venue, but it was in Nashville, and it was on that Contortionist tour. And I remember he took a video of me playing that riff, and then we got home and we started developing that song. And the initial like arrangement of that song actually had the intro riff to House of Light.
Okay.
And we ended up scrapping that, coming up with the arrangement to Suborbital, and then turning that into House of Light. So it started in, I guess that would have been September of 23. That's when we started writing. Brody describes it as kind of just being the easiest album he's ever written. It just kind of came together. But I mean, between me, him, and Biggs, it's kind of easy to just have a lot of ideas. And there's even stuff that we wrote and recorded for the album that didn't end up making the cut that may surface later, maybe not. But we started writing back then, and it's hard to remember the specific chronological order of writing stuff, but it did start with Suborbital Blues.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to ask because I think that might have been the first song released with this new lineup
It
iteration, I
was.
think.
It
Yeah.
was.
So what was that? It was a very deliberate choice to make it open the album in that way.
I think so, yeah. It's definitely got just like a big riff. And that was another thing that we kind of wrote that song to sound big in a room. We think about that when writing songs. A lot of, if your music's too fast and busy, not that I'm bagging on people who can play like that, because I definitely can't. But like, if your music's too fast and busy, a lot of it gets lost. Specifically, if you're playing in a big room, and so we try to keep that in mind with writing, and that's what Subliminal Blues was. I had that, like I said, I had that riff laying around for a while, but it was definitely like, it's like I want this to be like a, not to put it in the same caliber, but like a Sad But True type riff, where it's like slow and big, and it's I'm definitely not, like I said, I'm not putting that song I'm not putting it up there with Sad But True, but it's inspired by that,
Yeah, for sure. I mentioned right at the top of this that I think this might be one of your Rivers of Nile's most epic albums ever, and I think a key part of that is bringing you in to do a lot of vocal work on this thing. Tracks like Water and Time sound absolutely incredible. Obviously, I think you've appeared with this band before on the title track of Where Else Know My Name.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's not like this is brand new for this band, but it's definitely a lot more prominent. So was there ever apprehension of like a fan's gonna get this? Because when vocals change in a band, it's a big deal to a lot of people.
I mean, I don't think, like, if you follow Rivers' career trajectory from album to album, it's always different. So, and that's kind of been the same with my old band, with Black Crown Initiate. It's like, you just make the music that you're making at the time because you're growing and you're changing and you're living your life and you're getting older. All kinds of things are happening. So it's almost like you can't stay the same. And I know I can speak for myself. I definitely don't think about what other people are going to think about the music that I put out. I think that would distract from that it just is what it is. Yeah, so I don't know if that answers the question, but
No, totally, really, totally.
I don't think about that at all.
Yeah, great, awesome. That's I think that's probably the most sane way to look at it, to be fair.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at the internet, dude. You can't please anybody,
Yeah.
let alone everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Like, no, nothing is liked by everyone, and nobody likes everything, or something like
Nobody
that.
likes anything. The internet exists just so people can talk shit on whatever you're doing.
Yeah. Anyway, so I am very curious though. Why was the Suborbital Blues and Criminals included on the album, but Hellbird wasn't?
Yeah, I think we kind of Hellbirds was a very aggro song that we put together basically because we were going on tour with Lorna Shore.
Right.
And we wanted to just put out like an aggressive song. And I love Hellbirds. It's sick to play live. It's very fun. It's like one of those like songs where like everything's exploding. It's cool. But yeah, it just didn't fit the vibe of the album.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. But I love that song for sure.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's ignorant, and you get it when you play it. You feel stupid.
Yeah, nice feeling to feel when you're on stage.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like you feel like a caveman.
Brilliant. Cool. I asked my buddy Ruben if he had any questions because he's a fan, and the only thing he wanted to know was how many sax solos are on this thing.
Let's see. Sax solos, because there's textural sax stuff. They're all over the album that some of you might not even notice. Like in Suborbital Blues, there's sax now. So let's see. 3, 1, 2, 3. Maybe 5.
I mean,
Yeah,
One of the.
Patty's sax playing on the album is, I love it, man. It's like, again, not to be disparaging of anyone, but it really feels like the sax on this album is part of the album.
Mm-hmm.
It's not being played over top of the album. It's like really, Patty played inside of the arrangements in a way that is really, really beautiful. And there's some really, really, really nice sax playing on there, and it's yeah, he did a great job. It's very musical.
Yeah, yeah, awesome stuff. I feel like it's kind of one of those things Rivers of Nihil has become known for over the years, is the incorporation of different instruments, especially the sax.
Right.
But I feel like we're sort of approaching this point in metal now where I think it's no longer weird to hear that kind of thing, like random
No.
crap, because anything could be metal.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, it's this. I guess it's the spirit of extreme music, is you can do whatever you want, and that's kind of back to what we were talking about before. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, absolutely.
You should.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's what heavy metal is about in a nutshell, really. Do whatever the fuck you want.
Mm-hmm.
Great. So, do the sax solos get a bigger response live than the guitar solos?
Yes. Yeah, the sax live, especially with Patty, because Patty's just got he's got really good stage presence. He looks cool, and he's got a belt with a piano on it. So I think, yeah, people go crazy for him live. It's cool.
Yeah, sweet. Speaking of live, you guys recently wrapped up a monster tour around the UK and Europe. I'm not bitter at all that I wasn't there. But you're now about to go on a monster tour across the States after the release of the album. So essentially my question is, when are you guys going to stop and breathe?
Probably when we're dead.
I bet you're stoked for that tour, though.
Yeah, it's going to be great. We have Holy Fawn, which is a band actually from Phoenix, where I live. I've never met them.
Sweet.
But they're killer, man. We have Inner Arma, which is actually our sound guy Joel's band. He plays bass in Inner Arma, so they're buddies. Glacial Tomb, I've never met those guys, but they're a sick band, like sludgy death metal, I guess. Yeah, looking forward to it, man. It's gonna be fun.
Awesome.
Weather should be nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, nice. How do you mentally and physically prepare for a tour that size?
I mean, I don't do a ton to physically prepare. I'm definitely a guy. I go to the gym pretty regularly. I try to keep in reasonable shape. Although as you get older, your body just kind of, But I also drink a lot of beer. But so that doesn't help. To mentally prepare for that, I mean, being on tour is something that is very difficult for people who don't do it to understand. It's literal chaos all the time. Everything comfortable in your life is gone. But you have each other, and you have a really good time together. So what I do to prepare is just I rehearse as much as possible, for sure, and then I spend time with my wife and my dogs, and I get ready to go. And that's always bittersweet, and it's adjustment too, because you adjust to your home life, then it's time to go on tour. By the time you are adjusted to being on tour, it's time to go home, and you have to continuously do that. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's good to have a band full of people who aren't terminally crazy.
Sure, yeah. So I guess the biggest preparation is join a band of people that you can stand to be around.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's been the distillation process since I've joined Rivers, is getting to that point, and we've gotten to it. And I think that translates on the album.
Awesome, absolutely. After that US tour, though, what can people expect from Rivers of Nihil for the rest of 2025?
We're coming back to Europe in August, baby. We're going to be doing all the festivals. We're doing Bloodstock. We're doing Brutal Assault. We're doing Summer Breeze. A couple other ones I can't remember off the top of my head. And I think we'll be playing off dates. They're not announced yet, so I'm not going to say with who. But
Sure.
We'll be over in Europe for about a month, the whole month of August, I think. And then we're gonna probably be hitting the States again in the fall. So we'll be around.
Awesome. I mean, I'll definitely be there at Bloodstock. So
You say that, but you weren't
no,
in Bristol. So we'll see about that.
I've got a ticket for Bloodstock. I will be there.
Yeah, well, I won't believe it until I see it. You better throw an egg at me or something, dude.
I'll make myself known. I'll figure something
Throw an
out.
egg.
An egg. I'll try. Can you imagine me trying to get eggs into Bloodstock?
I mean, you could probably do it.
I could. Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Put it in your crotch, dude.
No,
So is that an egg in your pants, or are you happy to see me?
Can you imagine the people next to me going like, "Why is this prick just thrown an egg at Andy Tom?"
Dude, if you hit me with an egg, that would be hilarious.
Because you'll point and go,
I'll know it's you, yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. And my last question, might be too early to start asking this, but are there new ideas for music looming in the background?
Yeah, always. Yeah. We actually, there's leftover stuff from the album. I think I mentioned that before. And also we've started writing new stuff too. Kind of never stops.
Awesome. That's always the best way to do it. Great. Yeah. So that's all I've got. Thank you so much, dude, for joining me today. It's been a pleasure.
Dude, pleasure's all mine. Thanks for having me.
Anytime, dude.
I'll see you at Bloodstock.
Absolutely, eggs incoming.
That's right.
I'll say this again for everyone watching. Make sure you check out Rivers of Nile's self-titled album dropping on May 30th. It will blow your mind. I've been Chris with The Razor's Edge. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, Andy, for joining us, and I'll see you in the next one.
For listening. Make sure you keep up to date with all of our interviews by subscribing to our channel. For all the latest news, reviews, interviews, and more, head over to our website www.therazorsedge.rocks.